I am trying all new makeup today, which I will be rating on a scale of 1 to 10, and I cannot wait to share this with you because I found some incredible treasures. It was truly one of my luckiest makeup hauls I've ever done. Our first product today is the One Size Secure Glow Tacky Hydrating Primer. When I was in Sephora, I tried it on the back of my hand and it felt so hydrating. If I had read in the store that it was a tacky primer, like the ones from e.l.f. or Milk Makeup, I probably would have passed on this one, but I'm so glad I didn't. I know those styles of primers are really great for holding makeup on, but for me, it's just a texture thing. I just don't like how sticky primers feel on my face. However, if you feel the same way, you might want to give this one a shot because it goes on feeling so soft and moisturizing, and it's not until it's set a bit that it gets tacky. And it's not as severely tacky as the e.l.f. or Milk Makeup Hydrating Sticky Primers. I give this one a 9 out of 10, just because I wish the price point was a touch lower. Getting to my favorite part, the foundation. So today's new foundation is the Glossier Stretch Fluid Foundation with Buildable Coverage, which is a hydrating gel cream foundation. I'm using the shade Very Light, and please excuse the fact that on camera, it is pulling way more yellow than it is in person. I'm trying out some new lights behind the camera today. This is a medium coverage foundation with a natural finish. It comes in at $34 US for 1 ounce or 30 ml of product. They offer 32 shades, and I have to tell you, they did a nice job of including different undertones. And you guys know I'm very picky about companies including undertones for everyone. This product is 89% skincare and includes good for you stuff like squalane, glycerin, wild roseberry, and plankton extract. And it avoids all the nasty stuff written right here. There's no SPF, no added fragrance, and for all of my animal lovers out there, this one is cruelty-free. So with all the basics covered, can I just tell you that I love this? It's light medium coverage, but it covered everything for me. I almost always have to go back and cover my breakouts with concealer after applying foundation. Not only did I not have to use a separate concealer to cover them, but it covered them all day. I am so impressed with the finish of this too. So when I talk about luminous or dewy looking skin, I consider there to be 3 types of dewiness. Number 1 is the more luminous type where there's a little bit of pearlescence in the formula, like the NARS Light Reflecting Foundation, the House Labs Foundation, or Estee Lauder Futurist Hydra Rescue. Next is the type of dewy that can pull a little oily looking if you're not careful. For example, the Tower 28 Tinted Sunscreen or the Ilia Skin Tint, which are both so lovely, but also dewy to the point where I have to powder it. And then there's what I call Barbie Skin Dewy. It's that flawless finish that also reflects light and, for lack of a better term, almost looks plastic, but not in a bad way, just in the sense that it looks like healthy, flawless, doll-like skin. The other foundation that comes to mind for me that gives that doll-like skin like this does is the Jerome Alexander Airbrush Foundation. I got that same flawless look that I do with this new Glossier foundation. Normal to dry skin foundation wearers in particular, I think you're going to love this one, but I also think this is very doable for combo skin. Oily skin might find this a bit too moisturizing, but probably could still pull this off by powdering. Now, this is actually a little out of order than how I did it in real life because I like to do my eyes first. So going to eyes, I primed my eyelids with the good old CoverGirl True Blend Undercover Concealer and then set it with my usual No. 7 Lift and Illuminate Powder in Light. Then I went in with the eyeshadow palette I've been trying to get my hands on for several weeks now, the Patrick Ta Major Dimension 3 Matte Eyeshadow Palette. And this is one of those gems I mentioned in the beginning. Normally, I would never spend this much on an eye palette, but I've been in need of some high quality basic neutral shadows for a while, and I kept filling the void by purchasing cheaper palettes that had a few shades I would use. And I don't know if you've done this too, but before you know it, you spent like $100 on palettes that you use maybe 2 or 3 shades out of instead of just investing in the one you really want. So I bit the bullet, and I couldn't be happier with this purchase. It is the first eyeshadow palette I've purchased that I know I will use every single shade of. And this not only has 10 powdered shades, but also 2 cream shades that you can use to affect the intensity of the powder shades. And he put this little plastic protector over it because you know how creams and powders in one palette get so messed up. I think it's brilliant, it's innovative, and the shadows themselves were so easy to work with. This is an easy 10 out of 10 for me. So then I went in with one of my favorite eyeliners, the Maybelline Hyper Easy Brush Tip Liner in Pitch Black, and some L'Oreal Voluminous Mascara, before putting on my next new purchase, which was the Ardell Faux Mink Demi Wispies. I've been a fan of Ardell lashes since I was a professional stage performer, and if they can stay on while sweating under hot stage lights, then they can certainly stay on in my everyday life with no problems. They have an invisible band and they hold their shape well. Another easy 10 out of 10. I wanted to make my eyes look a little brighter, so I tried out the LA Girl Perfect Precision Eyeliner in Arctic White on my waterline. I put it on, and a few minutes later, it looked like it wasn't there, so I applied again, and when I was taking pictures, that's when I noticed that it really did work well, and it stayed for a fair amount of time on the waterline before fading. So for both its affordability and performance, I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. Back to the face, where I used another product by the beautiful Patrick Starr, the One Size Turn Up the Base Butter Silk Concealer in the shade Fair 3. This is a full coverage concealer, but what I really liked about it was that it felt very creamy, even more so than the NARS Creamy Concealer, which to me feels like it has a touch of powder in it, which means it dries out my eyes a little bit more. And really full coverage concealers like Tarte Shape Tape, for example, tend to have kind of a powder in them, which is good because that's what helps give it the full coverage and staying power, especially if you're oily. But if you're more mature, I think you might like this one better because you have the creaminess of this concealer with the option of powdering over it if you like. This was a solid 9 out of 10 for me. And I swear to you, this video is not sponsored. I just truly hit upon some amazing products. So after concealer, I went in with my usual favorite, my Fenty Contour Stick in Amber. And then I applied the Rimmel Stay Matte Powder in the shade 003 Natural. This is a great budget-friendly powder that has some really nice undertone options as well. I think it's particularly good for oily skin. It's a great starter powder too if you're younger or maybe just starting to experiment with makeup. For me personally, it works great on the areas around my nose and chin, but can get cakey looking if I apply too much on areas that have lines. Also, it has a fragrance, which I know a lot of us try to avoid. So for me personally, this was a 7 out of 10. But when my daughter starts wearing makeup in her teenage years, if she wants to, this is definitely one of the first products I'd reach for her. On to blush, where I used another new product. I tried the much talked about Too Faced Cloud Crush Blurring Blush in the shade Candy Clouds. And if you're curious, the shade is very similar to the Dior Backstage Rosy Glow. I am in love with the beautiful retro packaging. That's a 10 out of 10 for sure. But as far as the blush goes, I thought it was good. I liked this light pink color because it gives such a healthy looking flush to the cheeks. But other than that, I felt like there wasn't anything really notable about the way it performed. And I have some blushes from e.l.f. that I feel work just as well for a fraction of the price. So I'll definitely wear this again, but for me, it was a 7 out of 10. After filling in my brows with my current favorite brow pencil, the L'Oreal Brow Stylist in Ash Brown, I tried out a sample size version of the Sephora Shape and Set Clear Brow Gel to set my brows. The gel itself worked great, but I wasn't a fan of the comb style brush. I prefer more of a spoolie applicator. So for me, this was just a 6 out of 10. Next up, I'm very excited to talk about the Sephora Rouge Gel Lip Liner in the shade 28 Sinker Suede. I love Sephora's Rouge Gel Liners. They're smooth, they're easy to apply, and have great staying power. I normally wear the shade 01 The Nudist, which is a pretty great neutral for me. But then I tried this shade and I found my lip color. I am over the moon because if you are a pale makeup wearer, you know how impossible it is to find a good nude lip color that isn't too pale or too deep. This is going to be a holy grail for me, I'm sure of it. I give this an enthusiastic 10 out of 10. Next up, I tried out the Chanel Le Rouge Duo in the shade Darling Pink. This is one of those that has a liquid lipstick on one side that dries down and then the gloss on the other. I like this a lot. I used to use one of these styles back in the day from the drugstore and it was just horrible and flaked off my lips so badly, but this one is really beautiful. It's a touch lighter than I thought it would be shade-wise as I bought it online, but I'm already planning to purchase a slightly deeper shade. It's Chanel though, so the price is ridiculous. For that, I give it an 8 out of 10. 10. Then I thought I would experiment with trying to deepen the color slightly by adding some of the Wet n Wild Soft Blur lipstick in the shade I'm Shy. You can't see it as well over the other lip products, but it's one of those matte lip stains. They did a really nice job of duping some of the higher end versions of this kind of lip stain, but I have to admit I'm just not a fan in general of how matte balm stains feel on my lips, but I won't hold that against this one. I give it a 9 out of 10. And here we have our final look. This truly was a long wearing foundation. I was so pleased with this formula. Glossier really hit it out of the park with this one.